Hello, and welcome to the Narrowing Path, Walking the Spiritual Walk. My name is Stephen Eiderstein. Thank you for joining me tonight as we go through and finish the chapter from the book Byways of Blessedness by James Allen. We're finishing the 5th chapter called Hidden Sacrifices, and it's been a lot of eye-opening stuff along the way. I hope you guys have found this helpful for yourselves in your own journeys as well. I know going back through this as in a more studying fashion has really realigned myself, shown me some places I can work on, shown me some things that are still really relevant to my life today. So I hope you all have found this beneficial. So I'm going to go ahead and read it, and then I will go through and do the review of it pretty much line by line. And this was a fantastic chapter. So here we go. I'll go ahead. This is, I think this is 1915 edition of it. And it was published originally in I don't remember the original publishing date for this book itself, but early 1900s, I think 1907. This one might have been 1904. Either way. So here we go. We're going to read the last section here from the chapter Hidden Sacrifices, which is chapter 5 in James Allen's book Byways of Blessedness. All right. Now, all these hidden sacrifices, which are here mentioned, are pure, humble heart offerings. They are made within, are offered up on the sacred, lonely, unseen altar of one's own heart. Not one of them can be made until the fault is first silently acknowledged and confessed. No man can sacrifice an error until he first of all confess to himself, I am in error. When, yielding it up, he will perceive and receive the truth which his error formerly obscured. The kingdom of heaven cometh not by observation, and the silent sacrifice of self for the good of others, the daily giving up of one's egotistic tendencies, is not seen and rewarded of men, and brings no loud blazon of popularity and praise. It is hidden away from the eyes of all the world, nay, even from the gaze of those who are nearest to you. For no eyes of flesh can perceive its spiritual beauty. But think not that because it is unperceived, it is therefore futile. Its blissful radiance is enjoyed by you, and its power for good over others is great and far-reaching. For though they cannot see it, nor perhaps understand it, yet they are unconsciously influenced by it. They will not know what silent battles you are fighting, what eternal victories over self you are achieving, but they will feel your altered attitude, your new mind, wrought of the fabric of love and loving thoughts, and will share somewhat in its happiness and bliss. They will know nothing of the frequent fierceness of the fight you are waging, of the wounds you receive and the healing balm you apply, of the anguish and the after-peace. But they will know that you have grown sweeter and gentler, stronger and more silently self-reliant, and more patient and pure, and that they are rested and helped by your presence. What rewards can compare with this? Besides the fragrant offices of love and praises of men, the praises of men are gross and fulsome. And in the pure flame of a selfless heart, the flatteries of the world are turned to ashes. Love is its own reward, its own joy, its own satisfaction. It is the final refuge and resting place of passion-tortured souls. The sacrifice of self and the acquisition of the supreme knowledge and bliss which it confers is not accomplished by one great and glorious act, but by a series of lesser and successive sacrifices in the ordinary life of the world, by a succession of steps in the daily conquests of truth over selfishness. He who each day accomplishes some victory over himself, who subdues and puts behind him some unkind thought, some impure desire, some tendency to sin, is every day growing stronger, purer, and wiser, and every dawn finds him nearer to the final glory of truth, which each self-sacrificing act reveals in part. Look not outside thee, nor beyond thee, for the light and blessedness of truth, but look within. Thou wilt find it within the narrow sphere of thy duty, even in the humble and hidden sacrifices of thine own heart. There we go. That's the final readings from this chapter we're going through right now. And let me tell you, that is an action-packed reading. That's for sure. There is a lot in that reading. So I am looking forward to going through it with y'all. So here we go. Let's go through this line by line. And I'm just excited because this is the accumulation of all these things: the anger, the resentment, the self-pity, the frustrations, the impatience, the vanity, the pride, all sorts of different types of self and ego and self-indulgence and self-assertion. Let's not forget those. I think self-assertion is one of the most important, and desire to impose our will on other people, our desire to judge and condemn other people. It's more relevant today than maybe ever before, to be honest with you. So let's go ahead and go through it. Now, all these hidden sacrifices which are here mentioned are pure, humble heart offerings. So, come from the heart. Pure, meaning you have to, they are intentional for good reason, right? For honest, maybe, of integrity. They are made within. This is important. This is, again, the recap of this whole thing. So it's important to actually look at this. They are made within, are offered up on the sacred, lonely, unseen altar of one's own heart. So he's stressing this, and I think it's important that he stresses this, actually, because a lot of people want to take their spiritual journey and they'll want people to give them validation. They'll want people to give them, to recognize the progress that they're making. It's almost like a selfish use of their own spiritual journey, in the sense of, look at me, look how awesome I am. Or look at what I'm working on now. Look how great I'm doing. And that's not what this is actually about. He says there, the altar of one's own heart. This is a private thing. This is personal. This is between you and the God of your understanding, between you and whatever higher power you choose. Because if it is for external validation, if it is for recognition of any type, then it is not pure, like it said there. It is not an honest sacrifice of the old behavior. It's to only serve yourself in some way, serve your ego in some way. This whole chapter was about sacrificing egotistical desires. It was about sacrificing behaviors that we've held on to that served us in some way, even though they damaged ourselves and others as well. So it has to be done alone. It has to be private. It has to be personal. Because if it's not, then it's not for the right reason. Not one of them can be made until the fault is first silently acknowledged and confessed. Okay, I love that he put "and" in there, and confessed, because there's two parts here. I mean, those from a Catholic or even any type of Christian religious background, and I'm sure it's woven into other faiths as well that I just might not be well versed in. But to put in there that it has to be first acknowledged and confessed is very important. It's similar to 12-step work when if you do not recognize that there's a problem, you're not going to be able to accept the solution. You're not going to be able to take an action on the problem. You're not going to be able to actually do anything about it because, well, guess what? You don't even believe it's true that it's a bad thing, right? If you don't think being impatient is something you need to let go of, if you don't even believe that you are impatient, if you believe everyone else is an idiot, you're not impatient, everyone else is an idiot. I used to think that, right? I didn't identify it as a problem. But and until I did so, would I be able to actually let it go, right? So, and then there's also that whole, there's many people, especially in the substance use and alcoholism world, that, I mean, there's some definite things that you can look at and say, hey, that is not good, right? You can acknowledge that there's a problem to yourself, but if you're only acknowledging it in your mind, right, and just it's a passing thought, right, you're not going to actually do anything about it. So you have to acknowledge it and confess it to the God of your understanding, right? To say, this is a problem. I need to change it. This is a problem. I want to improve upon it. I want to do better, right? That is what this whole living spiritual journey is about. It's actually that personal growth, that personal sense of duty to improve who you are and grow towards an ideal of your choosing, right? It's so, so crucial to this whole process to acknowledge and confess. Then he goes in to say why. So no man can sacrifice an error until he, first of all, confess to himself, I am in error. If you don't think there's a problem, you're not going to be able to fix the problem because it's not even existent. This is why the first step in 12-step programs is so important. This is why in therapy, you have to identify what you want to work on, right? Oh, I want my life to get better. How? What direction do you want to take, right? When you're working on spirituality, usually some part of your life has come to a grinding, painful halt, okay? And if that's your situation, you got to find where the problem is. You got to identify it so you can actually work on it. So, confess to himself, I am in error when yielding it up. He will perceive and receive the truth which his error formerly obscured. So, I really like I said, James Allen was very, very fantastic with the words he chose. And it's very important the way he phrased this too. He will perceive and receive the truth, which his error formerly obscured. So it's not like it just suddenly manifested the truth. It's not like it was never there and suddenly it revealed itself to it, or it came just suddenly out of nowhere. No, your behavior, your error that we're talking about here, defective character, whatever you want to call them, right? Is obscuring the truth that has always been. The truth has always been there. It will always be there. You are the only thing that's in the way of finding it. Now that seems like a substantial thing to consider. That seems like something that's very hard pill to swallow, right? But what he's saying there is it's always been there waiting for you to actually see it and receive it. You've just been playing around too much. You've been selfish and self-centered and egotistical to the extreme, or to the point where you can't even, the truth has been obscured to you. It's pretty powerful stuff, actually, or at least it's been impactful for me to realize that I was always searching for truth, but my behaviors and my errors of thinking and behavior always got in the way. They always blocked me off from actually receiving the understanding, from seeing what the actual truth was. So every time I've sacrificed an old behavior, every time I've sacrificed a bad behavior, an unhealthy behavior, a damaging behavior, what some might call a sinful behavior, every time I've done that, I've come to understand and know to a deeper extent, or a more thorough understanding or clarity of understanding truth. Now, I can't obviously say I know everything there is to know about truth, but I can tell you that as I have progressively worked on myself, the more truth has been made available to me. But it's not even made available to me. It's just I have the opportunity to actually receive it now. That's always been, the world is always trying to give it to you. Your God of your understanding has always been trying to bestow it upon you. We just haven't been ready for it. We haven't been willing to actually receive it. We haven't been willing to let go of our old egotistical ways so we can receive some honest truth and some honest living in our lives. I've always been the problem, it turns out. So, the kingdom of heaven cometh not by observation, and the silent sacrifice of self for the good of others. So the silent sacrifice of self, so you're sacrificing your ego for the good of others, right? It's not just to do it. It's not to sacrifice your ego to serve yourself would be attempting to sacrifice your ego to serve your own ego. So it doesn't work. That's why there's a lot of things is like talking about you can't, if you desire to sacrifice your ego, you are desiring for it. So it's James Allen would talk, Alan Watts has talked about it, and I think it's in the Buddhist teachings as well. But don't quote me on that. But where the ego cannot defeat itself, we need help from a power greater than ourselves. So to sacrifice self for the good of others, we need to be of service to others, right? The daily giving up of one's egotistic tendencies is not, I repeat, is not seen and rewarded of men. People aren't going to see what you're doing. People aren't going to see the journey you're on. They're not going to see the exact battle you're fighting. He goes into that a little bit more. But this is important. Your fellow man won't cheer you on necessarily in the battles you fight internally, on the selfish and self-centered and egotistical behaviors you are sacrificing on the altar of goodness and righteousness. Your fellow man won't see that right away. They won't see you doing it. They'll only see the after effects. But so it's important to remember, it is not seen and rewarded of men, and brings no loud blazon of popularity and praise. There's no round of applause here. Actually, usually when you're going through this process, when you're actually cutting out behaviors and getting rid of them and shaping yourself into the image of a God of your understanding or whatever ideal that might be, it is uncomfortable, it is painful, and it is usually a very lonely walk. I know I'm not really selling the spirituality walk right now, but there's some importance to recognize it. If you are just starting out learning about these things and they're just starting to look into spirituality and looking into what a God of your understanding might be and looking into even religion or whatever it might be, and you stumble across this, I need to let you know the change will be uncomfortable. The change will be lonely because you are you are letting go of a lot of old stuff in your life. It's not easy. It's quite difficult. And you'll feel like you're making a mistake sometimes because you're like, well, everyone else is doing it. Why do I have to do this? Why am I left out in the rain? Blah, 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 right? All that self-pity stuff will show up. But it's important to know you walk this path yourself. Most of the time, those immediately around you when you get started will not only will they not clap for you or praise you or make you. It won't make you more popular. They will actually most times condemn you. They will most times criticize you. You will most times be encouraged to stop, and your ego attacked, and your feelings hurt a lot of times. So it is not always the nicest truth, but it is a truth that I've found. So, praise. It is hidden away from the eyes of the world, nay, even from the gaze of those who are nearest to you. For no eyes of flesh can perceive its spiritual beauty. These sacrifices you're making on the altar of service to God and others, no one's going to see it. When you are doing it, when you are taking that actions, when you are willing, and when you are acknowledging, when you are confessing it, and you are willing to let it go, there will be no one there to watch you do it. It will be between you and your higher power, you and the God of your understanding, you and the universe. It will be done in silence. It will be done by yourself. No one there to clap. No one there to make you feel better about it. No one there to encourage you. It will just be you saying, I am done. I am willing to do whatever I need to do to let this thing go, to overcome this thing, and to change my life. Regardless of how well it served me in the past, or how well it hasn't served me in the past, you will become willing to do it. And no one's going to clap, and people won't even notice. People won't see that happening. I like how he said, even from the gaze of those who are nearest to you, but no eyes of flesh can perceive its spiritual beauty. It's a beautiful thing. It's an amazing thing. It is the beginning of something. It is a seed. It is a foundation to a new way of living, a new perspective, and a new life for you, but they will not see it. Those you love, those who love you, will not see it. But think not that because it is unperceived, it is therefore futile. So just because other people don't see it, doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Right? We're not doing this for external recognition. We're doing it because it's the right thing to do. It is an error we desire to correct. So, its blissful radiance is enjoyed by you. So, first and foremost, when you do this, its blissful radiance will be enjoyed by you. So, he's almost selling it a little bit there, right? Like, you will benefit from this. And its power for good over others is great and far-reaching. For though they cannot see it, nor perhaps understand it, they are unconsciously influenced by it. Now, there's a lot of ways we could talk about this, but the most basic way to articulate this is to say your energy changes when you do that. Your self actually changes when you start doing this work and you start making these sacrifices. When you walk into a room, when people sit across from you, when they look into your eyes, when they engage you with conversation, you will be different because you have made that sacrifice. And in the beginning, they won't even notice it, right? Suddenly, you just seem more pleasant, or they have a desire to talk to you more, or they feel more peace or rest, calm around you, right? They don't know what it is. They might not even realize it at first, right? But they will be unconsciously influenced by your change of character. They will not know what silent battles you are fighting, what eternal victories over self you are achieving, but they will feel your altered attitude, your new mind wrought of the fabric of love and loving thoughts, and will share somewhat in its happiness and bliss. So as your character changes, as you sacrifice these unhealthy, selfish, egotistical behaviors, you change, and then your interactions change, right? You change, and then people's perception of you will eventually change. You don't do it so that happens, but as a byproduct, it will happen. As a byproduct, you will find that people want to have conversation with you more. As a byproduct, you will find that people enjoy your input, or they value your input, maybe is a better way to say it, respect your input or your perspective or your experience more. And they don't even realize they're gaining in that and building in that. They just continue to grow in their perspective of you. They feel a change before they notice they've felt a change. Hey, that guy was much nicer today. Or that was a good conversation. Or they just walk out with a little bit of a skip in their step because they just connected with you. And you couldn't do that before. They couldn't do that before. They were trying to, and you weren't available to, right? So they will notice the change in you. They won't know what battles you're fighting. They don't know what you've done. They don't know every single sacrifice you've made, but they will know that you are different. They will know that you have grown and you have changed. It's pretty crazy to see. I've had that experience happen in my life where I didn't even know I had changed, but other people could feel that I had changed. Right? They didn't know why. I knew why. Because I had let certain things go, certain behaviors go, certain frames of mind go, certain ways of thinking go. But I didn't know it had changed me in a way that other people could recognize. Pretty intense. So, they will know nothing of the frequent fierceness of the fight you are waging, like how much you actually work at this, of the wounds you receive and the healing balm you apply, right? Because this is painful, right? Like when you're really digging into the spiritual work, when you are sacrificing these selfish behaviors, you have to look at the underlying wounds that have driven these in the first place. You have to actually be willing to take a look at this stuff and say, why do I do this? What does it do for me? How does it serve me? And then be willing to let that go. Let the healing happen. So the behavior isn't even a temptation anymore. Right? You give it over to the God of your understanding. You give it over to the spiritual practice that you're participating in. And suddenly, right, you don't even have a desire to actually engage in the old behavior, the old thought process, even when you're doing that. Right? So everything's changed a little bit. And of the anguish and the afterpiece, right? A lot of people will only see the after effects of what's going on. A lot of people will only see the work that you've put in. A lot of people will only see what you've done. They won't see, or that they will only experience the result of the work. They won't see the work you've actually put in. So, but they will know that you have grown sweeter and gentler, stronger and more silently self-reliant, more patient and pure, and they are rested and helped by your presence. Now, who doesn't want that? Who in their right mind would not want to grow sweeter and gentler, stronger and more silently self-reliant, more patient and pure, and they are rested and helped by your presence, right? Gentler and sweeter. So you're not abrasive, right? You are more inviting. You're more engaging to people. People want to be around you, right? You have more compassion, more empathy, right? You're stronger to be able to actually stand up for what you believe in, to actually be steadfast in your understanding and decisive in your action, and silently self-reliant, right? You don't need to be, you don't need the constant reassurance of others, right? You can follow your heart because you've done the work to actually trust its guidance, right? You're not acting on emotion and impulse. You're more patient. You're more pure, right? You're more effective in your understanding. You're more resilient in your emotional state, right? You're not on this roller coaster anymore, right? You're steady. You're steady, right? And that leads people to be able to feel rested and helped by your presence. if we have a lot of intensity, and this can be really positive energy or really negative energy or conflicting energies, whatever it might be that you used to bring with you, after you go through and you do this work and you let go of these egotistical things, you suddenly become someone that is pursued because they feel at peace around you. They feel rested around you. They feel helped by your presence. When you walk into, blessed are the peacemakers, right? That's part of Sermon on the Mount. When you walk into a room, you can just instantly bring the tone of the room down. I didn't know that was possible. Once in a while, though, that happens to me. I'll walk in and everything just comes down a notch. People are able to have better communication, Now, I'm not saying that I'm some saint, but I do feel like I've been able to have a positive impact on a lot of situations now because I've done a lot of work on this, right? I've had the opportunity to be of service in ways I never thought possible because I've done this work. And again, no one knows I have. I'm saying it on here, but until you actually have an interaction with me, like, you won't even know. I believe there's a lot of people that have hollow claims, and I guess maybe I shouldn't be, but claiming anything. But I can say that I'm not where I used to be, and I have a desire to continue to improve myself and my character in the Christ-like righteous way, and it's had an impact on my life. So now, even James Allen here says, what rewards can compare to this? He's even saying, what else could you want from than these things, right? These substantial gifts of spirituality from the God of your understanding, universe, source, energy, whatever you pick, right? To be able to be sweeter, gentler, stronger, more self-reliant, patient, and pure, and to be of just your presence helpful to somebody. That's what many, many people want. It gives a sense of security, gives a sense of safety, gives a sense of strength. And that's what so many pursue in their lives. So what rewards can compare to this? Besides the fragrant offices of love, the praises of men are gross and fulsome, and in the pure flame of a selfless heart, the flatteries of the world are turned to ashes, right? Like, so nothing that sounds negative, but what he's saying is nothing in this world is going to be, there's no praise, there's no recognition, there's no amount of money, there's no amount of power or prestige that could really compare or be something that would be a reward to do it, right? So it's saying anything of this earth is not a reward in comparison to what you actually receive from doing this work, right? Nothing compares to it. You wouldn't trade it for a thing. You wouldn't trade it for any amount of money after you've done it. After you have serenity and tranquility and peace of mind, you wouldn't sell it for anything. After you've truly achieved that, and you've held on to it, and you know it's possible, you won't let it go. You won't want to. Sometimes your selfishness shows up, or your egotistical self shows up, and you go and you let it go. But once you have it, you'll never willingly or intentionally sell it out. I agree with him. Love is its own reward, its own joy. To embody love is its own reward in and of itself. You don't need all this other material stuff. Love is its own reward, its own joy, its own satisfaction. It is the final refuge and resting place of the passion-tortured soul, right? James Allen, in a lot of his other writings, says you have to give up passion, which seems to be contradictory to what we hear today. But what he's saying is passion actually makes people make bad decisions, makes people's life chaotic, makes them go up and down and left and right, and they sacrifice the truly important things in the name and pursuit of passion. This could be relationships. This could be for a job. This could be for so many things. So James Allen's take on this is passion-tortured souls, those who are constantly engaging and pursuing this intensity of energy, right, is love, true and honest, and a very intense sense of love is the final resting place of passion-tortured souls. That's where we end up. That's what we end up striving for and looking for. That's what we've always wanted, and we always looked in the wrong place, turns out. The sacrifice of self and the acquisition of the supreme knowledge and bliss which it confers is not accomplished by one great and glorious act, but by a series of lesser and successive sacrifices in the ordinary life of the world, by a succession of steps in the daily conquest of truth over selfishness. So persistence is key here. Consistency is key here, right? If you are part of a 12-step fellowship, 10, 11, and 12, like these are daily actions that need to be taken, right? This doesn't happen overnight. It should continue for a lifetime. This is not something that you just wake up one day and your life is completely changed, and then you don't have to do anything else, right? You might have a revelation. You might have an intense burning bush spiritual experience, but that doesn't mean you're done. That's only ever the beginning. It takes consistent, persistent work and intentional work to actually grow and embody this truth and this love and this knowledge. That's what he's saying here. This acquisition of these things does not just fall into a lap. It is something that you've chosen to pursue. It's something you've chosen to bring into your life and continue to choose to bring into your life. Continue to engage in that daily conquest of truth over selfishness. He who each day accomplishes some victory over self, who subdues some tendency to sin, who subdues and puts behind him some unkind thought, some impure desire, some tendency to sin, is every day growing stronger, purer, and wiser, and every dawn finds him nearer to that final glory of truth, which each self-sacrificing act reveals in part, right? So whatever you're doing, whatever little piece of growth that you do in a day, it's a win. It's a step in the right direction, right? Every journey starts with the first step, right? And it needs every step from the beginning to the end point to actually get where you're going. So I was trying to list them out here in right order, but I kept misreading. So victory over himself, who subdues and puts behind him some unkind thought. So every condemnation or judgment, or I'm better than they are, or they're not as good as me, or whatever it might be, right? Or even to yourself, that's self-condemnation. So what if you subdue or put that behind you? Some impure desire, right? We talked about that last time. Impure desire, any lustful things or selfish, gluttonous, greedy things, whatever it might be, things you want to go just to give yourself a sense of security and safety, right? Or some tendency to sin, whatever it might be, it's a pretty broad thing, is every day growing stronger, purer, and wiser. And you're every dawn, so every morning, when you go through the day, you go to bed, you wake up in the morning, you are one step further on that path. Sometimes I explain spirituality as every decision you make to do the right thing is a brick in the path of God's will for your life, whatever God you choose, right? So you're building the path as you're walking it. By every sacrifice you're making, every little piece of selfishness you let go of for a day, every change in behavior to be more righteous, to be more positive, to be kinder and more loving. Every time you do something in that direction, you're walking the path. You're walking that narrowing path, right? That spiritual walk. What this whole thing's about. Look not outside thee, nor beyond thee, for the light and blessedness of truth. But look within there. I don't know about you, but I was looking everywhere else, in other people and other things and substances and alcohol and jobs and reputation and prestige, whatever it might be. I looked absolutely everywhere to get the peace and security that I feel now. But it was never outside of me. I had to look within. That's why I love James Allen. I mean, I fully align with everything that he speaks to. Look not outside thee, nor beyond thee, for the light and the blessedness of truth, but look within. Thou wilt find it within the narrow sphere of thy duty, even in the humble and hidden sacrifices of thy own heart. Everything you need to actually do this work, to change, to find this strength, this purity, this joy, this happiness, you've already got. It's right there with you. It's right here. It's in your heart. It's in your day-to-day life every single day. You just have to be willing to look at it. You just have to be willing to actually embrace it, which isn't always easy. And that's it. That's the end of that 5th chapter, Hidden Sacrifices, right? I mean, this just summed up the entire chapter today. Absolutely love this. Love it. Love this. This entire book I would highly suggest. And especially this chapter, though, has given me so much direction in my spiritual journey of things I need to take a look at. And I hope it's done the same for you as we've gone over it the past couple of weeks. It's really been a chapter I've enjoyed going through with y'all, like I said earlier. So, what's next? That's the question. I actually have a couple of things that I haven't actually made the decision yet. We might stick with some more Byways of Blessedness. I might throw in some Emmett Fox before we go back to Byways of Blessedness. I might bring in another author actually too. So we've got a couple options. Go ahead, leave a like or a comment below. Let me know what you think, what you'd like to hear. If you have some other suggestions you'd like me to actually take a read and maybe a review too, I'd love to do it. Always looking for new input in literature. So don't hesitate to let me know what you're thinking. But besides that, I look forward to jumping into it, whatever it is next week. And until next time, thanks.